Hello and welcome to Fantasy Premier League, the D Unit's journey. Today I'm back with my wildcard draft for Game Week 11. Now, if you are someone that's actively going to play your wildcard this week, you're a brave person because personally speaking, I've got my wildcard penciled in for next game week. I was very tempted in Game Week 10, but I'm glad I held off. But I'm hoping that playing it in Game Week 12 during the international break, you'll be able to take advantage of like price changes, potentially might be able to make some money out of players and not even having your team with some luck. It's potentially quite possible to do over the coming game week. And obviously got the international break. There's going to be a lot of players that go away. Quite often they come back injured. We don't know what's going to go on. We have people pull out, pull in. So look, if you can afford to do it, you're better off holding until next week to play a wild card. But if you've really come for a wild card draft, who am I to not indulge you all? So without further ado, make sure you press the like button, press subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and let's dive into what I think a wildcard draft should look like this game week. Alrighty, so I'm just going to quickly start with this. Instead of like the fixture difficulty rating, which we're going to jump into very quickly, I just want to point out the top 5 players in so far this game week. Chris Wood, Woody Woodpecker in my team, he's doing so well. Not a surprise. It is a surprise that he is the most transferred in player this game week. I'm surprised Mo Salah's not the top one, but I suppose that's just a sign of how good Nottingham Forest have been this season. So look, I can understand it. I just don't really like their fixtures on paper coming up. In the long term, I think he's a very good hold. And look, he's gone up for 0.5 million for me this season, so I can't really complain too much. On the other side, you can see there that Haaland is the most transferred out player this game week. So people are literally dumping him by the bucket load. He has dropped from 15.4 already down to 15.3. Luis Diaz, again, consistently is getting dumped by a lot of people. And then obviously Van de Ven, who we know is not going to be back until after the international break. Eze is the same. And surprisingly, Kai Havertz is slipping in there at the number 5 spot. All right, without further ado, let's get into the fixtures and the fixture difficulty rating. So, some things to keep in mind when you are doing a wildcard, and you don't just wildcard for this week. If I was just wildcarding for this week, I would be loading up on Tottenham assets, Everton assets probably again, Man United assets, Newcastle, they all look pretty good, and definitely Wolves. But you are not just playing it for this week, and that is why Arsenal assets are so important, because after this week, when they've got Chelsea away, they do have a dream run. And also Brighton, after they've got Man City this week at home, also go on a very dream run. So the wildcard draft I'll be doing is targeting the soon fixtures, but also looking ahead to the runs that are coming up. And that's what you've got to do. Because in reality, if you're playing it a week early, you've really got to be setting yourself up for what would be a game week 12 wildcard squad. So it's going to be heavily influenced by what I do here. But without further ado, let's look at my team and what I would do. So as I said, I am planning on playing my wildcard next game week. I've already made my transfer for this week. I've taken a 1 week punt on Ollie Watkins out of my squad and Dominic Solanke in. Now there is a world where you can see there I've got 5.2 million in my budget where I don't wildcard next week, and all I do is I trade Dwight McNeil for Bakaroy Saka from Arsenal. And I go with the 3 premium midfielders with Mbeumo in there as the 4th. That is definitely a possibility. However, I don't like the fact that Dominic Solanke next week has Man City, which is the main reason why I have penciled in the wildcard for that. All right, so I think any wildcard draft from here doesn't have Haaland in it. I think you're better off putting the funds in a different place on your team. And again, I'm not sure about the defense either. Like with this one I'm doing here, there are quite a few of my defenders that are going to be getting the chop in a second, as we're about to see. I just don't know what I feel like at this particular point in time. I can't make up my mind on the defenders. They're actually the hardest bit to pick because like I don't know whether you're worth just spending more money in the attack and just dumping the defense of like 4.5 defenders and just rotating them. I'm not 100% sure what is the correct play, but that is something to keep in mind. Now, the one easy trade that is the easy one coming up is Turner out. Like Fabianski's still playing in goal, so you just want to have him in. So we'll just whack him in, get rid of him. Now David Raya, I'm not sold on, but as I said, the Arsenal run does look pretty good, and you can see that I've got 5.2 million. So again, I know Saka's not a good play this week, but long term he is a good play. So for me, Dwight McNeil goes. and Saka comes in. And now he has gone up to 10.1 million. I'm not concerned by Saka going up again this week because like he didn't do anything on the weekend and they do have a hard fixture this week. And I don't think enough people are going to jump on board early in order to make that something that's going to happen this week. Now, James Justin has been very disappointing for me. I've owned him and he's done absolutely nothing except make me 0.1 mil. That's all he's done in my team. I got him at 4.4. I think he's up to 4.6. So look, he has been very disappointing on the whole. And the fact that he didn't play on the weekend against Ipswich makes me think that he's definitely someone that needs to go. So look, James Justin, he's got to go. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think has to go as well, but I'm not sure. I'm going to see what happens with the rest of my team first. I do like a couple of different options here. So Morgan Rogers actually goes in this lineup as well. Now, it is depending on what you want to do of your team. Do you want to, for example, I actually think that the better option in midfield is actually Semenyo. So I think that he is the best budget option, particularly over the next 10 weeks. So if we look at the Bournemouth run, you can see there for the foreseeable future from game week 11 through to game week 21, it's a pretty good run for Bournemouth. Other than Spurs at home, which, you know, they still might get something from that game, it's pretty smooth sailing from here on in. So I think he's going to go up in price as well. So I really like him in a wildcard squad this week. He's potentially going to make it into mine next week as well, based on this. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting because I like the Bournemouth defenders, but I also like the Brighton defenders. So this is where I'm slightly torn. Like, do you skimp out on Trent? And I'm going to go through a few different things here. So go through Trent, and like part of me likes Guardiola. His underlying stats are unbelievable. The last four of the last 5 weeks have been unbelievably good. Like, he's just been getting into positions. He's got the most touches of any defender in the box this season. There's a reason why he's up to 30% ownership. I just don't know if I can justify spending the money on him. So I really like the Brighton fixtures after game week 12. All right. And I also like the Arsenal ones. And I think I want to triple up on Arsenal, which is where I'm like stuck a little bit. Like, I'm not sure. So I could go Waitman here. Like, Waitman seems like a good, or Veltman. Sorry, I think I might have just said his name wrong. He seems like a good option. Like, put him in there, 4.5 million defender. You're not going to play him this week against City, obviously, because that just would be dumb. And then I reckon this is where it gets a little bit, I like the Bournemouth defenders as well, and I really feel like having one of them could be a really good chance. Now, like, Kirker obviously did super well on the weekend, and he got 2 assists. However, his underlying data is not the same as like some of the other players in the Bournemouth team. So when I'm looking at there, it's 0.1 expected in goal involvement per 90 minutes. Now, Sensei, if you pull him up, he is 0.07, so that's not even any better. Zabani, his is 0.04. So like Kirkers is actually, I think he's been skewed by the data from last week, but I feel like potentially Zabani is the one here. But like Kirkes, I feel like you can pick any one of those 3. If you wanted to save money, you go with either Kirkes or Zabani. So I'm just going to whack in Kirkes just because of the fact he did well on the weekend. So that still leaves him with 2.9. Now, I did say I really like the look of Nicholas Jackson, and I do like the fact that you can still have Ollie Watkins. Now, the reason why Dominic Solanke is in here is because of the 1 week punt. And that is, I don't think he actually makes a wild card draft for me in game week 12. But in game week 11, he does. So it's like one of them weird ones. So if I didn't have Dominic Solanke, I'd be quite tempted to go a Wolves player. So if we go down here, and I actually like Strand Larson in a double up. It sounds stupid, but it actually has a lot of sense. Cunha supplied the assist for Strand Larson's goal on the weekend. Like, that leaves you a 4.9 in the midfield. And I've talked about this before. There is a couple of different things you could do here. So Kevin De Bruyne is back in training for City, right? So I'm just going to whack his name in and put in City here. I really think that you could play five big ones in midfield. All right. So if you got rid of this, you could get rid of Semenyo, and you could bring in De Bruyne, and he's 9.4, and you've still got 1.1 million in the bank. All right, and then you can upgrade Faze then maybe to a I actually quite like. I'm not sure who I like most. I need to see a bit more. I want to see how they play on like midweek again. But I feel like Dallo is a really good pick here. I feel like he's going to suit the system that Amarin's going to bring, like with the wing backs. And Dallo's going to be really important with that particular thing. So I feel like Dallo would be really good here. And look, then I'd have 0.1 left in the bank. I've got double Arsenal. So one midfielder, one defender. I've got the double up Wolves in attack, but I really like that. The Southampton home game and the underlying fixtures for the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks look amazing. The other person I will mention in here though as well that you could potentially get rid of Strand Larson for instead and like go a little bit creative, and this is really differential, but this is definitely someone you could whack in. So you could probably whack in Evanilson. I don't even know how you say his name, but you can whack him in. Now I need to find 0.2 million here, and this is where I think you can also get a little bit creative with your team. So, for example, in this event, I probably ditched Dallo, I think potentially, and I'd bring in just another Man United defender there. So I'd probably bring in this case, I'd probably bring in Mazraoui because I think like he's going to start for the foreseeable future because look, they just don't have any players. All right, so that'd leave me 0.4 in the bank. I don't know. I feel like that's a couple of different ways of constructing a wildcard draft. Like this team value is literally 104 million, give or take, with 0.4 left in the bank. Yeah, I've done well. I've done well accruing money. So like, and you also do have to factor in the players that you're selling. How much money have you got invested in them? So for example, Morgan Rogers there is 5.2, but I've got really 0.3 invested in him. Whereas other players are like Faze, I've only got 0.1 invested in him, so it's not like I'm dropping that much. And I really want to be targeting players that I think are going to explode and help build my team value because like eventually you'll be able to afford another premium asset because of it. I'm not sure what you think. Let me know in the comments. Is budging it out in like literally the whole defense other than your goalkeeper a realistic play? Let me know. And again, make sure you like the video. That is my wildcard draft for game week 11. I actually quite like it. Kevin De Bruyne is now fit and he's starting again. I really like the 5 premium midfielders. I just don't know which player you leave out from week to week. I think it literally does very much become fixture dependent. Like in this lineup here, I feel like the person that misses out this week would be Saka. But that feels bad leaving Saka on the bench, right? So, yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done that. I'll be back with some transfer tips in regards to the most bought in and bought out players tomorrow. Make sure you check that. I am on holiday, so these have been all pre-recorded prior to the Brentford and Fulham game on Monday night. But hopefully you enjoy it regardless. And I will see you tomorrow. Cheers for watching. D in it out.